The panic is at an all-time high, and unsurprisingly, the logic is at an all-time low throughout the woke media. The Trumper has done it again, the face of the orange race. He has sent the mainstream media into a full-blown panic. I'm sitting in my recliner last night watching the second half of Auburn and Michigan State. I'm prepping my topics for today after I had spent the last couple of hours immersed in the WNBA dump, which, by the way, it took Monica McDougal from ESPN less than an hour to prove me right. Yesterday afternoon, we talked about the dump divers in the WNBA potentially treating Caitlin Clark differently this season because they need Caitlin Clark to rescue Unrivaled, their secondary dump that pays better, before it joins Barney and the other dinosaurs in the land of extinction. But just because WNBA players could treat the Great White Hope differently, that does not mean that the media will comply. As soon as I posted that video yesterday afternoon, someone sent me a clip of Monica McDougal speaking like a grade A doofus, claiming that little girls only like Caitlin Clark because she lacks melanin. You know, it amazes me how the mainstream media is suddenly concerned about our republic, which they continue to refer as a democracy. We are under attack! Our democracy is at stake, and I don't know how to operate a musket, but I do have a zester in my purse. I will defend our democracy by zesting the orange man. It amazes me how the media is suddenly concerned about our democracy when they didn't give a damn about democracy when our former fearless leader Johnny B. Biden was trying to destroy it. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Did the media care about democracy when Johnny B. was spreading the cheeks of the southern border and letting everyone inside? Did the media care about democracy when the innocent life of Laken Riley was taken by some dude who at minimum should have been in prison? Or better yet, he shouldn't have been here in the first place because he should have been stopped at the border. But as you guys know, the only papers required for entry under Johnny B. Biden was the invitation to the Butt Bongo Festival. The media, they didn't seem to care about democracy when Ivy League schools were being overrun by peaceful protesters. Free Palestine! Yeah, you know who wouldn't be free in Palestine? The Rainbow Warriors who were protesting for Palestinian freedom. Give blue-haired Claire and her 5 o'clock shadow a first-class ticket to the Palestinian Regional Airport. Hey, friends, it's me, Claire, with the blue hair. Why are you throwing rocks at me? The media, they didn't care about democracy when they stood in front of burning buildings in Minneapolis and tried to convince us it was a peaceful protest. Don't worry about that fire behind me. We're just grilling some wiener. But all of a sudden, the Trumper starts intimating that he would be interested in a third term if it were possible, and the mainstream media has a sudden urge to defend democracy. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not biting into this shit sandwich. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel's in the description below. This morning on the second channel, talked about Mike Wilbon crucifying ESPN and the mainstream sports media. Mike Wilbon basically confirmed what Uncle KC has been telling you guys for years. ESPN is trash. I explain how ESPN got to this point and why their audience is partially to blame. So if you haven't already, click the link in the description below, subscribe to the second channel. Headline at NPR, which I believe stands for Nicely Polished Radio, because that's what they present. Polished turds. I know NPR only receives around 1% of their funding from the federal government, but since Elon Musk is looking to eliminate government waste, why don't we go ahead and eliminate that 1%? Why are we wasting taxpayer money on government-funded propaganda on a platform like radio that no one is listening to? Anyway, headline at NPR. Trump is not joking about third term, even though the Constitution says it's no bueno. Oh. The Constitution. So now we're following the Constitution. We're not worried about the Constitution when it comes to the Second Amendment. The media was ignoring the Constitution when John Biden was pressuring big tech companies to censor people. But when the Trumper mentions a third term, the media is suddenly filled with constitutional scholars. This fake outrage surrounding a third term, it came from a phone interview that the Trumper did with NBC News. Well, Casey, why in the hell is Donnie speaking with NBC? I have no idea. I wouldn't waste my time watching NBC or MSNBC, much less speaking to them. But I think the Trumper enjoys this. I think he enjoys pissing off the mainstream media. Ironically enough, I can't find audio of this mysterious interview with the Trumper that was taking place over the phone. NBC released the transcript, but for reasons unknown and to my knowledge, NBC has not released the audio. I wonder why. NBC asked the Trumper about the possibility of running for a third term. Donnie said something to the effect of, people really want me to do it. I mean, I am universally loved, but we have a long way to go. I'm still very early in my administration. So we're not really thinking about that right now. But seriously, though, I would consider running for a third term. There are ways I could do it. I'm the Trumper. Anything is possible. I'm not joking. I once shaved Vince McMahon's head. He was balder than Joy Reid. It was beautiful. If I can do that, anything is possible. For starters, let me make one thing perfectly clear. Barring highly unusual circumstances like a third world war, which I highly doubt is going to happen with Trump in office. But unless something drastic like that happens, I would not support a third term for the Trumper. Now, that doesn't mean I wouldn't like it while we're in the moment anyway, but it would be concerning for the future. That is a very slippery slope. If the Trumper sets that precedent, that means it could happen with Barry the Obama, or God forbid, Johnny B. Biden, cackling Cam Harris, Gabby Newsom. How would you feel if they were allowed to run for a third term? Hell, how would you feel if Cam Harris was elected for one term? We would be terrified. So I would not support a third term for the Trumper. Now, that being said, it ain't gonna happen. And the Trumper knows it's not gonna happen. How does the media not see this? How does the mainstream media not understand that the Trumper is trolling them? Think about it. What has been the main topic of conversation throughout the mainstream media this past week? The signal leak, the security leak, the military conversation that included Captain Doofus, Joan Goldberg from The Atlantic. Hey, it's me, Joni! Every night last week, it was the dominant story in cable news. But yesterday, it was all but forgotten. Yesterday, it was old news because the Trumper was threatening democracy by teasing a third term in office. Now, that's my personal theory, but I think it makes sense, right? So, how in the hell can I figure this out while the media seems to be devouring the shit sandwich? Because the only thing the mainstream media is interested in is fake outrage. Yesterday afternoon, some lady on MSNBC named Alex Witt, or Alex Whitaker, she, her, whoever the hell she is, she had a panel on her show to discuss this threat to democracy. The panel included David Jolly, Don Calloway, and Susan Del Percio. And who? You expect me to believe a trio that I've never heard of? This looks like a list of names on a WNBA roster. David and Don are the bearded forwards who rebound Curly Sue's missed layups. But anyway, the trio of potential WNBA players, they were discussing Donnie's threat to democracy. Watch it for yourself.
When asked about a potential third term, he said, "I'm not joking," but he says he's more focused on his current term. Quick reaction, guys, to that Trump comment entertaining a third term. You first, David.
Believe him. I think the biggest mistake of the last 8 years is we somehow fail to give credibility to Donald Trump's whims and his impulses, but we know it's true. And January 6th was a perfect example. If he says that he's not ruling it out, he's not ruling it out, and we should consider it a constitutional threat.
Steve Bannon was on Joe Rogan's podcast the other day laying out the very groundling seeds of how it's going to go down. And he said, listen, we are working on it. And by we, I mean the same people who work at the Heritage Foundation and these other well-funded, well-organized think tanks who are laying together the groundwork for things that actually come to pass. And I think you should take a third term or an effort at a third term as a legitimate campaign promise.
Can you really be this naive? Can you really not see what is going on here? Let's just pretend for a second that the Trumper is being serious. Let's pretend for a second that he is going to run for a third term. Donald Trump's about to be 79 years old, meaning he'll be 82, 83 years old while starting a third term, and he would be in his mid-80s by the time that third term ended. I know the Trumper is a machine, but the presidency, it is the hardest job in the world. It ages you. Matter of fact, it ages you rapidly. Go look at pictures of George Bush in 2000 and compare them to pictures of my good friend Georgie in 2008. Look at Barack Obama in 2007 and look at him in 2017. Hell, look at pictures of John Biden in 2019 and compare them to 2024. 5 years later, Johnny B looked like a raisin. It was impossible to count the wrinkles. I don't know if Donald Trump would have the energy to run for a third term, but even if he did, it doesn't matter because it's not going to happen. MSNBC is not the only ones falling for the Trumpers' ruse. Check this out. Check this out from the donut diva Brian Stelter. The diva put down a half-eaten glazed wiener yesterday to express his fake outrage. As you can see, he is calling Donald Trump a liar. According to the donut diva, the Trumper lies about his popularity. He lied about his TV ratings. He lies about his wealth. What the donut diva is trying to say is, don't trust the Trumper. Unless, of course, he is talking about running for a third term in office. In that case, we should believe him. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the American media. They're either naive or they are so infected with OMB, or it's bad, that they can't see that they're being played. Give me your thoughts on this. The media overreacts to the Trumper talking about a third term. I think he's trolling. I think he is playing the media and diverting their attention away from the signal leak, which clearly worked. But what about you? Is he joking, or do you think the Trumper is being serious? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Best way to contact me is through email, btlkc84@gmail.com. I'll see you guys later.